council to order at 3 p.m. for Monday, August 10th. Sharon?
Please note, council meetings are streamed live and recorded on YouTube. Attendees acknowledge that in accordance with Section 20 sub 2 of the Access to Information Act and Section 4 sub C of the Protection of Privacy Act, names, addresses, and other details provided when speaking at a council meeting will be publicly shared. Should you have any questions related to the collection or disclosure of personal information, please contact the Legislative and Advisory Services team for the Town of High River by sending an email to atip@highriver.ca. That's ATIPP@highriver.ca.
Thanks, Sharon. First item is the adoption of today's agenda, so I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Barton that Council adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting August 10th as presented.
Yeah, my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Previous meeting minutes acceptance. Ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council adopt the July 13th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Yeah, my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. One delegation today from KFM Investments, and I understand Ken is here to speak to that. Yeah, just up front at the middle computer here, Ken. Yeah, hello.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass and Council for allowing us to come and speak today. My name is Ken Friesen. I'm the owner of the building located at 720 11th Avenue Southeast, which has Fountain Tire as the tenant. Fountain Tire's franchise owner-manager Nathan Oakley regrets he couldn't make it here today, but I do have Jared Jameson and Curtis Sigalo, who own the building next to mine at 710 11th Avenue Southeast. They have Man Cave Power Sports, Aces of Speed, and Concept Building Systems as major tenants. We are here today to have funding approved for the construction of the berm naturalization and drainage project behind our buildings. Whenever it rains or there's a heavy snow melt, water runs off of this berm behind our buildings and floods our buildings so that you can see and hear the water literally rushing through the floor vents, especially at Fountain Tire. Our pictures 1, 2, and 3 show that. The water is cracking the concrete, which is damaging the building floors, and who knows what's happening to the building's piping and sewage system. Fountain Tire's floor vents have rust in them due to the berm water that sits in them after it rains and when there is snow melt. That's on picture 4. Does council get to see these pictures? Do you? Oh, you've got them there? Okay. Due to the lack of proper drainage from the berm, there is standing water in the buildings and yards. That is an Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Code hazard. And we have a whole bunch of pictures, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Nathan, the manager there, has equipment that's valued well over $50,000 that could have an electrical short due to water hazard, not to mention the slip and trip hazards to customers and staff. If OH&S were to see the water rushing through floor vents and the standing water in the buildings, they would shut these work sites down. Nathan has been in contact with town staff regarding ongoing flooding issues since he started with Fountain Tire in 2020. Mr. Oakley has tried to mitigate the issue by spending over $30,000. He dug up a portion of the yard and filled it with rocks in order to try and hold the water. That's in picture 13. The volume of water is so much that there is no visible improvement to the water coming into the building or the yard. We received notification from ISL Engineering and Landscaping dated September 23rd, 2024, that they would be performing, and I quote, "a site topographic survey as part of the berm naturalization and drainage project to resolve drainage issues related to the existing berm along the back lane between 10th Avenue and 11th Avenue Southeast. The scope of the design includes redirecting the drainage from the town berm away from private property." Pictures 14 and 15. Mr. Oakley's correspondence with Andrea Kozak and Diana Daly Beckford from the town's engineering department, which was dated November 21st, 2025, picture 16, acknowledges that the town has completed the design for the berm naturalization and drainage project, and the next step was to take the project to council for construction approval. Council denied the construction of the project in the fall of 2025. I feel we've been extremely patient regarding this ongoing matter, but our patience is running out. Mr. Oakley has been dealing with this not only with the town, but as a productivity and safety issue. The problem has been ongoing for so long, over 6 years that we're aware of, that we are now concerned about damages to our buildings, piping, sewage systems, and who knows what else the water damage is doing to our buildings. I will add in here that also Curtis and Jared that are here today, they have spent well in excess of $30,000 of their money trying to divert this water. And their yard, when it gets a heavy rain or snow, it's just a lake back there. It's unbelievable. So I feel we've been extremely patient regarding this ongoing matter, but our patience is running out. Mr. Oakley has been dealing with this with the town as a productivity and safety issue. The problem has been ongoing. Oh, so I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself there. We are here today to request that council approves the berm construction as soon as possible and a firm construction date, start, and timeline. Thank you for your time today. We look forward to council's approval of the berm construction project with the urgency we believe this project deserves. I thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Ken. So regarding construction and cost and everything else, nothing will take place prior to budget this fall. Has to be. That's just the way things go in municipal government.
I understand.
Who can, where's my staff members I'm looking for? Diana, is she here? Can somebody remind me, what was the quoted cost of the project as it was designed to do from ISL that was declined by council? Yep.
So actually the actual...
There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. The actual cost to complete the project was around $500,000, but then the problem was the utilities to be removed and placed underground in order to complete the design and have proper drainage, and that was over $750,000.
That's the power lines, et cetera, right?
That's right.
How long has this berm been there? As long as I can remember, but that's not very
My
good.
understanding it was in the 80s. I'm not
Okay.
quite sure of the exact date.
So Ken, help me understand, why has this only been an issue for the last 6 years? If it's,
Well,
this thing's been there
we
for 40.
purchased this building in, I believe it was in 2019.
right,
And so that's the only that I
Timeline
know
you
of.
have,
I
yeah.
know the issue has been there before.
right.
The building that Curtis and his partner Jared own, they purchased that building
Yeah,
somewhere.
you
I
guys
think,
have
in
only had it for 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah. So, you know, we're just the ones that are dealing with it at
Yeah,
this point.
okay. I appreciate that. That's what I needed to know. outside of $1.25 million
Yeah.
to fix this, are there other options? Being a swale down the south side of the berm or anything to redirect this water off of it?
No, it's based on existing drainage and how we have to redirect the water right now. But the major problem is really just the water line.
You gotta get tight. That mic is really quiet, Diana.
So based on how the existing drainage is right now, we looked at various different options. One of the option was to remove the berm in its entirety. And the second option was to do proper landscaping to have drainage in the area. But part of the problem is there's an existing structure that's just right on the property line, and it's hindering putting a proper swale behind the berm. So that's why the design had to change from that. There is an existing structure on the Fountain Tire property that's causing the issue.
That's that sprung structure.
Yes.
The right one, Mike. Okay. Councillor Cooey?
Thanks very much, and thanks very much for being here today and for stepping in as well. Question, just to clarify the dollars and cents here. We've talked about the 500,000, but the utilities, is the utilities additional 750, or is that the total project cost?
It's additional.
Additional 750,000. Perfect, thank you. I just want a clarification on that.
Councillor McGonigal?
What was the original purpose of this berm? I went out and had a look at it this morning, and it's significantly higher right behind the Fountain Tire building. It kind of slopes a bit. And it's been really dry. You still have a lot of water there. So what was the initial purpose of the berm, and is it still working for what it was supposed to do?
I couldn't speak much about the history, but typically berms are normally built for sound attenuation. What I will say is that the existing berm right now, I'm not sure if it's actually still serving the same purpose, because most of the trees on top of the berm is dying based on talking to the Parks Department. So the plan was to remove a couple of those trees and then cut the berm down in order for it to actually function with a different purpose.
Is that an option? Is that a cheaper option?
It is an option that we're actually planning. Actually, that is the option right now, because we cannot put a swale between the existing property and where the swale is. So we're planning on cutting the swale down and so that we can have proper drainage into the alley and connect to the infrastructure.
And that's the $1.25 million.
The $1.25 million is $750,000 to remove the Fortis poles existing right now, because there are higher powered lines. Fortis requests that the power lines be placed underground. Right now they're above ground, and they want, if we're planning on doing any work to impact their utility poles, they want the lines to be underground, and that was the direction we received.
Are they the final word on this?
That's what my question was. Do they get to just tell us to spend that money? Or we can say, thanks for the request, but no, we can't afford it in this project, and your power lines go overhead?
We've tried. The engineering and I have spoken to them, and that's their request. The reason for having the poles underground, we were planning on creating domes around each pole, because if we were to put the swale in, we would need to protect the poles, to protect their infrastructure. They do not want us to do that. So the request is, if you're planning on doing any work to impact our poles, you have to put the the electrical work underground.
Can I make a comment on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any, the thought of putting some type of drain basins in behind our buildings that ran a pipe instead of taking the berm out, if there was drain basins that could collect that water with a little bit of direction there, and having that water piped out of that area. It was just I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but it was just kind of common sense thing that might work.
If I may, we can do that, but it means you would have to move your building.
That's where the white sprung structure comes into play, is problematic, with it being not as close to that berm as it is. Okay, so 2027 budget. Sorry, Councillor Barton. Let me go through and get the list done here first.
I was just going to mention something like Ken had mentioned, is that there was an option, but I didn't know about the sprung structure, so that was it.
For the 2027 budget, like, doing nothing is not an option.
No.
Something's got to be rectified here.
Thank you.
On some level, whether it's a cost share or something, I don't know, but this has to come back to 2027 budget, and I'd like options outside of what was brought last year's budget. I also want more information on how much Fortis can handcuff us. Probably quite a bit, but I'd like to see the rules on that, because that's a significant cost to this whole thing, is if we've got to go underground with that power. But yeah, I think we got to get something sorted out here, because... Councillor Nychuk?
Sorry, Mayor, along with your information request that you just had, can we get some history on, if we can, back to when that berm was built, when the adjacent properties had development and construction, kind of the full background for that property along there? And that timeline, if we can, thank you.
Perfect. You good?
Okay? That's it.
Okay, we'll work through it here, Ken.
Yeah, there's just one more comment on that, if I may. You asked about when things were built and stuff. That's a good question. I know that both of these buildings have been there for a long time. So it's like, were the buildings there before the berm, and then the berm went in, or did we build buildings there? But if we built buildings there when there was a berm there, why would the city have allowed us to build at that height? So it's kind of...
Oh, don't take me down that road.
Okay. Okay. Well, he was asking the question about the date. So.
I appreciate it.
So thank you. And
we're going back to Kenmar. That's how far back we're going on this one. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll hear back from...
Yeah, we'll bring it back to, it'll be in budget discussions this fall.
Okay. And thank you, everyone, for your time today.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ken. Okay, next piece, we'll move into public comments regarding anything on today's budget or agenda items, please. Is there anything? I think Donna Larson was scheduled to speak to something. Please, Donna. Yeah, just to the middle microphone, please.
Mayor and councillors, thank you for having me today and allowing me to speak. I did notice that my correspondence to councillors is being brought up later. I've been doing some reading regarding the High Country Drive corridor, and honestly, I read the whole report. There's a wealth of information there, and I want to thank High River Council for hiring the group that they did to do such an in-depth study on the corridor. I think that what has happened with High Country Drive is you can't turn back time. And the facts are that we've got 2 playground zones, a rather large school, a bike park, a splash park, several pedestrian crossings along that corridor, along with the golf cart crossing, and who knew it was going to turn into the mess that it's become now. The straightaways are being treated like, what they call them, the quarter-mile test back when I was in high school, where people would go from a full stop and just, see how quickly they could get to 100 kilometers per hour. And it's just an ongoing problem. A lot of people who are discussing the High Country Drive situation are focused on the golf course crossing, which I think is quite unfair because it's bringing a bad name to the golf course and the golfers who have not really had a lot to do with everything that's been done to date. And people don't realize that, if they sat down and read the study and all of the information in it, along with all of the financial information, which a lot of people are demanding information on, that everything is there. The reasons are there why something has to be done. The reasons regarding unsafe driving practices, the scooters, the e-bikes, the people using the pathway system. And I know there's been a larger police presence, and I thank you all for that. But as soon as they're gone, the unsafe driving practices come back into play. The sign was put out, drive safely. This is a 50-kilometer zone. And once people were used to that, well, the unsafe driving practices came back. There is a portion of High Country Drive that is a part of the Happy Trail pathway. It is a very busy part of High Country Drive and also a very straight part where the acceleration by cars is very evident and very noisy and very unsafe. So I think that I notice that I'm coming up later in correspondence. I don't know if I'll be able to be here or not, but I think that what I would like to reiterate is that I do think that area, which I believe I read is going to be reduced to 40, should actually be reduced to 30. It's very close to the school. It is a part of the Happy Trails system. It is a very busy, what is the word I'm looking for? Pathway users area. And the other thing that I came across was I sat down, I was looking at all of the future planning development of High River and was noticing what's going to happen with Longview Trail, and it's very confusing. We have Longview Trail there, and it's open to be used. There are no houses facing it. Future planning can be done so that houses won't face it. If you stand at the very east end of Longview Trail, and look east, you can see Center Street, and you can see that these roads can be attached, which would alleviate pressure off of High Country Drive. So I guess that I'm just here saying I've read options 1, 2, and 3. I do believe that as councillors, you have a chance to make the right choice and to consider these other ideas that I put forward about the 30-kilometer, extending the 30-kilometer right all the way through to the end of the, I guess it'd be the school/playground zone, and also considering doing construction to create a new corridor, which would be Longview Trail. And I just hope that you take these things seriously. I did read options 1, 2, and 3, and after looking very carefully at all of the information that was included in the study and feeling quite humbled by all of the information in that study, I honestly think option 3 is the right way to go. It's like, do it right the first time, or you're just going to end up with more problems down the road. And that's, I think, all I really want to say.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Okay.
Donna.
Okay, thank you for your time.
And you're right, like the amount of traffic that is on High Country Drive right now is absolutely enormous. Unfortunately, 15 years ago, I'm looking right at you, Kinghorn. Help me go back that far.
Yeah.
There was a proposal that the traffic would come straight off of Center and go straight to Longview Trail, which would have alleviated a ton of that.
Yeah.
For a certain reason, council chose not to do that at that time and routed everything through the middle of High Country Drive, which is
That's interesting.
which has significantly increased the traffic count on High Country Drive. And the reasons of what you're talking about is the reasons why we were dealing with that golf cart crossing was priority 1 at that time. Obviously, everybody knows the history of us going through that, and that's why that conversation was so difficult for a lot of years. What area to pull the trigger on first on High Country Drive to start to deal with some of these problems, and it's not easy. And thankfully we do have a 4-way stop there now that stops traffic and slows people down. But I'll be honest, when Chris and I went out there just before the permanents were poured, and we stood there for 10-15 minutes discussing that, the driving habits going through that were absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, you can't change the spots of a leopard, right?
No, it was,
Yeah.
and even still, I was out there and our bylaw guys were monitoring the intersection. And what was going on through that intersection while I was talking with him was just, and so, I get people don't like change in their driving habits, and putting a 4-way stop and another stop sign in town is just completely detrimental to some people's lives. Like it's mind-boggling to me, but it does not give you the right to just be pissed off and just floor the thing coming out of that intersection.
Right.
It's still a stop sign, just like the other 4,500 of them in High River that you have to obey.
Well, and
you got to be safe.
Last week I witnessed a guy yelling at golfers
Yeah.
who were going across, and it's like, people are just taking their anger out.
The entitlement
inappropriately.
behind a wheel of a vehicle that can kill people is unbelievable. Trust me, I've been dealing with it for 13 years now, and it's been probably one of the most mind-boggling things, learning things that I've had. So I could go on and on and on about that. But High Country Drive, and the corridor study, it's coming back up, but it was very well done. There's a lot of information on there, and there's a lot of projects to be taken under consideration. But the Longview Trail thing is a big one, but it also, a lot of Longview Trail revolves around the speed at which the Spitzy Crossing development happens, which is a long, long way out. So what can we do in the meantime is what needs to be looked at and considered by council.
Option 3.
You got her.
Yeah.
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 So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, everybody.
Anyone else for public comments section? Sir, come forward, please. Thanks for your words, Jared and Curtis. It was very well said.
My name is Roland Richardson. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. I agree with probably everything she said, and I read the reports too. One part that didn't get mentioned during this is Riverside Drive. And what's happened to High Country Drive boiled over into Riverside Drive, which made it more of a speedway because people avoid the school zone. They avoid the ziggy-zaggy streets that goes west and goes narrow. So now High Country, our Riverside Drive, I think is even worse than High Country Drive. The subject of Longview Trail, I actually did a drawing years ago and submitted it to the town before the road got put in by Tim Hortons, on the premise of utilizing Longview Trail, because at the time, I forget what year it was, the town annexed that property, which I think they were going to call Spitzy Crossing. And I thought, what an opportunity to get a traffic artery that can branch out both ways to get people out to the west, or southwest, or south northwest. But of course, that didn't get done, and I think I'm said pretty much everything I want to say, but I'd like people to remember Riverside Drive is a nightmare, more so than High Country Drive. Okay, thank you for your time.
Yeah, and it's, I've seen that as well. It's being used as a bypass road to go around some of the playground areas to try to zip around there faster, but unfortunately, in order to make it faster, you got to go faster, but you see it all the time. And Riverside Drive is another one that's just poor traffic design. But anyone else? Mr. Wardley?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Thank you, Council, for listening to me today. I have a concern not only about High Country Drive, but also about Longview Trail. When you go west on Longview Trail from Center Street, you run into, on the right north side of the road, a gravel road, which is maintained, I understand, by the town. And I see now that there have been some slight improvements made to it. And I sit back and wonder who is running this town. Is it the council or is it the administration? And as I can see, it must be the administration, because council refuses to do anything with that road at all. The road I'm talking about is the gravel road running south to north over to 498. That road now has been band-aided. And I didn't realize that council approved band-aiding products or information or doing things in the town of High River. I have been here 55 years. I paid my taxes every year, and I expect that certain things happen in this town. But unfortunately, I see now that they're not. There was a gentleman by the name of Craig that came into the town office, raised supreme hell because of the conditions of the road, that he could not sit on the back of his deck and enjoy the west-looking area because of the dust. The dust was incredible. And he was raising hell about that he was going to have to move out of High River. He was going to have to eliminate paying taxes in this town. And he was very, very disjointed about what was happening. And I assume that the administration had found out about this, and they then proceeded to oil, or a special word that they used, waxing something on that gravel. And they only did about 200 meters of it. They did not complete the job. So you go down that road and it's fine. They put that oil on there, but you go down past the 200 meter mark and the road is all gravel again. And not only gravel, but it's washboardy. Now, I was told by the mayor some months ago that that road was not in their jurisdiction, and they would not be using it. He also
That's an
suggested to me
incorrect
that...
statement, Ken.
Excuse me,
100%.
I have the floor.
If you're going to talk, make sure it's truthful. Do not start to
telling
say
you that
stuff
you
that's a
phoned
bunch
me,
of
sir,
BS. Don't do it,
And you
Ken.
told me that you were going to sue me if I didn't stop talking about that situation.
Pardon me? What are you talking about?
You can say what you like to say, but I'm telling you what you said to me.
That
you
I
were
was going to
the
sue
town
you.
or you would sue me if I didn't stop desisting using the paved road that should have been there by a developer.
No, you and I both know what that conversation was
going to
about.
get into it.
I'm not
just
going to
saying,
argue
I
with
just
you
don't
about
understand
here. Just so the
how
public
this can
knows.
happen
Yeah.
when, if it's a
Continue
town council
on.
thing or is it an administration thing that's putting that oil onto the road.
Yeah, let's stick with the issue, Ken.
I'm telling you the issue.
I'm all in.
I know you are.
So,
Anyway,
but I won't. But Ken, I'm
I
all
have tried
into.
for 3 years now, and I'll give you another section.
Okay, can I answer your question regarding the road?
When I'm finished talking, you can.
Well, but you're so far off topic now, Ken, that you're trying to make these personal accusations that are not. I'm not going to stand
I'm
for it
not
in the
off
council
topic,
meeting.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to shut your mic off so that I can answer your question. So regarding what is known as 64th out in the northwest, and yes, it's a maintained, oiled, graveled road. In committee of the whole meeting just an hour or two ago, we were discussing the three roads that are the three priority roads as to what to do with them, being 112th Street in the northeast, 64th in the northwest, and Longview Trail in the northwest. Now, these are all on a list of priorities and how much money council wants to spend on refurbishing, repairing, maintaining these roads, and it's 100% a council choice. It's what we discussed this morning, or early this afternoon, was 112th Street, because it is a badly beat-up road that's in worse shape than 64th, and what to do with that. That project out on 112th, which is approximately the same length as 64th, but it's going with engineering and everything, and the estimate for construction that I got this morning was $1.3 million to rebuild that road and pave it. $1.3 million. These are not cheap projects that you just go and do. It's just not a thing you do on Wednesday. So all of these things are constantly coming back into council's project list every year for budget, and we're trying to figure out what level of repair that we want to do to these roads. So yes, 112th is on the list, 64th is on the list, and Longview Trail. All of them are on the list. Every municipality is constantly chasing road conditions, always. There's a proposal on the docket for 64th to just be closed and removed. Because part of the problem with 64th, Ken, is that when Spitzy Crossing goes in, 64th doesn't exist. So how much money do we spend on a road that won't exist when Spitzy Crossing goes? So these are the things that aren't being, we talk about them in council, they're not being talked about in the coffee shops, right? So yes, you can say that we're all neglectful and everything else, but it's completely untrue. It's what we're trying to figure out is what the priorities are and where we need to spend the best money for our taxpayers, period. So, thanks very much for your comments.
Obviously, you didn't know that the money was being spent to put the oil on the road.
Of course I knew that. We're doing, well, yeah, we're maintaining. Oh yeah, Ken, yes, I know about the money being spent on the maintenance of the road. I'm not going to fight with you here. I can do that out in the hallway. More than happy to. Okay, thanks very much. Councillor McGonigal.
Could we not oil the rest of the road? That doesn't require engineers, I don't think.
Riley, can you speak to the maintenance of 64th, please?
So earlier, I guess a couple of weeks ago, we applied oil to, sorry, not oil, the wax product. So the same product we use on 112th to approximately 300 meters of 64th, given the concerns we've had with dust as well as with some of the rutting and moving of the gravel around that intersection. So we did apply that, I think it was around 10,000. We could apply it to the balance if council so wished. I don't know how long the road is off the top of my head, but we could multiply that out and definitely do that.
Okay. Any other public comments? And allocated the time to it. Okay, we'll move on. Janitorial contract award for BSRC. Alex?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, members of the public. Alex Millett, Manager of Recreation. So before you is the request for a decision for the janitorial contract award for the Bob Snodgrass Recreation Complex. Just some background on that. Historically, janitorial services at the complex have been done in-house by the facility operators as part of their broader responsibilities. The aquatic expansion has added new change rooms, new play space areas, and a mechanical system that requires much more maintenance, preventive maintenance attention, as well as just upkeep of that space when it does open. This is also has the potential to increase the cleaning workload and technical responsibilities for those facility operators, like I mentioned, including water monitoring, samples, troubleshooting, different things like that. Administration identified the continuing to complete all janitorial work in-house would place additional pressure on this staff capacity, not just on the aquatic side, but we have seen increase in the ice maintenance or ice operations as well, with higher ice demand this past season, and coming into this season we anticipate the same. Along with those measures, we have included additional ice maintenance and an additional ice maintenance plan for this season to upkeep with that maintenance. Part of the things we want to do with our services in the facility is upkeeping these services, ensuring that the public user groups, members coming in, are accessing the most adequate, consistent service, not just on the pool side when that opens, but also when it comes to ice surfaces, field house, studio, walking track, curling club. You know, a lot of those spaces require a lot of facility attention. So like I mentioned, this RFP focuses on contracting nightly janitorial work in the areas of all the dressing rooms for the field house, small arena, and large arena, as well as our highest traffic public washrooms that include the field house and the existing lobby ones. In addition, we'll be covering the offices and the new change rooms in the aquatic side as well. In addition to this nightly cleaning that was captured in this RFP, we also have weekly deep cleaning happening, which is paramount on the aquatic side in terms of us doing our due diligence and our service that we need to, not just for when that facility opens, but in terms of AHS standards and everything like that when it comes to aquatics cleanliness. I'll just break down the financials real quick. Like I mentioned, when we originally estimated last year going into budget, we annually estimated $70,000. We amended that budget to $35,000 with the delayed aquatics opening. Of the proponents we had 21 proponents. Service master cleaning came in at a yearly cost of $59,841. If we sign the agreement here in September for the remainder of 2026, that cost will be $19,947. The total cost of the 3-year contract, $179,523. And I will just preface, like I said, of those 21 proponents, bear with me here, we had we had three that we had put in as preferred. As you see with deep clean building maintenance, they did come in at 41,400. The key difference in going with the middle bid on this one is in terms of capacity, the technical capacity, the support that comes with Service Master Cleaning, in addition to the level of diversity of experience they've had. They're a business of 30 years experience, not only just doing government services such as AHS, but commercial side that includes Amazon, Chevron, Shell, commercial residential properties including Jamin, Simcoe, and also their QA system, their quality assurance system, and their incident reporting system was beyond of what we expected. And in this case, when we go into an RFP and a contract agreement like this, we want to ensure that we're getting a service that we're going to get consistent, upkept, and also one that we know that we're confidently going to get servicing on, and that's what we felt in evaluating with Service Master Cleaning. So that is the reason why we've recommended them. Like I mentioned, council has a list of decisions on the table here in terms of this. Council may support the proposed recommendation and authorize administration to enter the 3-year contract. Number 2, like I mentioned, council may defeat proposed recommendation. Routine janitorial work would continue to be managed in-house, and administration would reassess service levels and staff capacity. Council may refer the matter to a future committee as a whole meeting with specific direction for additional information. The issue with this one, this does put staff constraints if we delay it beyond September 1st with ice season opening up here in September. The full ice season, we do have part of ice season going, as well as our fall user groups coming in. We have high facility usage in terms of field house, ice surfaces, and registered programs. So that's a summary of the RFD. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thanks, Alex. Questions from council? Councilor McGonigal?
Alex, I'm just interested in the 2026. From September to the end of December, what areas do you expect to be open? And if there's any change to that, are they guaranteed the 19,000, or are we paying a rate? If we have changes in our opening schedule, does this cost get reduced?
No, that's a fair question, Councilor McGonigal. Like I said, if we go ahead with this, I'd like to sit down with the contractor and see what options we do have to look at, whether it might be, for what I foresee, maybe a credit, maybe they cover other areas of the building in addition until that spot opens. Because like I said, we do have the other areas that are currently open as the existing common ways, whether it's the hallways, parts of the lobby that are still open. Do we look at the curling club aspect? So I'm sure there's some value we can offset in the meantime where we're still getting that full dollar value, and work with the contractor in that piece, whether it's servicing other areas or do we look at a credit?
So the money stays the same?
That would be the goal, correct. We would not want to go over the 19,947.
I'm thinking going under the 19,000.
Oh.
If they're not required to do the work, do we still have to pay them? That doesn't make sense to me.
May contribute. This is a maximum spend forecast. The rates will be corrected based on scope of contract. So if the scope of cleaning does not match the full operational, that will be corrected in negotiations.
Chris, might need you to come to the mic just because of live streaming and audio issues in this joint.
Thank you. I'll repeat that. So this does have a defined scope within the agreement. So that will be negotiated in upon entrance into contract. So the rates will be reflective of the determined number of cleanings and the area of cleaning. So that is the maximum forecast pursuant of our current operational opening of the facility, and that'll be negotiated down if they don't require the service.
Okay. So less work, less money, right? Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Nychuk?
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Thanks for bringing this forward. I guess Chris kind of touched on it there in the defined scope. I'm assuming there might be more than was presented to us in terms of what the defined scope is. Within something that you mentioned, Alex, there were government, if you want to call it, requirements, directions, regulations that state how we would clean the pool area and whatnot. I assume in the contractual piece that's going to be between us and potentially Service Master, those things are very clearly outlined. Because what we got here in terms of, and I'm looking at the general neutral pool change rooms, clean all wash bowls and plumbing fixtures with germicide, clean and disinfect urinals. I can list off the other 4 or 5 things that are there, but they're very broad in stroke. It doesn't tell me a lot in terms of exactly what they're going to be doing, and I don't know, contractors need to be told very specifically what they need to do. Otherwise, it gets very difficult to hold them to task. And for me, some of that is missing in what we have here as information presented to us. So to Councillor McGonigal's point about paying for time served, are we breaking that down into the daily or the weekly deep clean and time that they will be on site? Or is it based around the requirements of cleaning that they need? So I guess what I'm asking really is there an hourly rate that this kind of breaks down to at, what are we, 60K annually? And that means, you know, Monday to Friday, they're there from, well, it's during closing periods, so, you know, 12 midnight till 5 in the morning or something, and what those parameters are. And I'm just looking for more of what the expectation is, because here I didn't quite see enough detail from me if I was sitting down to negotiate a contract like this.
No, absolutely, and thank you for that one, Councillor Nychuk. One of the reasons why we did go with Service Master was the detailed scope they did provide. So when it came to their daily cleaning, it was more detailed than the RFP itself in terms of what was getting wiped down, where and when. And then also not just the nightly, but the detailed piece was in there as well. Aquatics was also looped in on part of this review of the proposal, and there was satisfaction from their end in terms of accomplishing what we need to on the aquatic side to ensure that, yes, it is broad in the RFP, but they did break down in terms of their scope of work, the detail of what was getting done and when, gave administration the confidence to go with them. I can't remember offhand what the numbers were in that RFP in terms of hourly, but they did, their scope of work was detailed enough that we felt confident, not only just with this price, but also the expectations in the work as well. And that goes back to their quality assurance program, which really stood out to us from above and beyond the 21 RFPs because of their attention to detail, ensuring that they're hitting all the expectations, not only through the documentation process they have in this quality assurance program, but just the regular meeting and the submissions of those reports after cleaning services happen. So the detail that this company puts in every service they do is tracked through their software, and also allows us to manage and see the expectations day to day that they are doing, ensuring that we're hitting that they're hitting what they need to, and that way not putting public health at risk or anything like that, especially when it comes to the pool side, because we do know about the stringent regulations that come with that.
Thanks. Please take it the right way. I was on a lack of confidence in what you guys are doing in your jobs. It's just, this was pretty broad in stroke, and for us as council to hear it and for the public to hear it, that there's much more behind the scenes that you guys are working with and things you look at and focus on. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thank you.
Your name's back up. No? Okay. All good. Okay, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that council authorize administration enter into a 3-year agreement with Service Master Clean for janitorial services at the BSRC in the maximum annual amount of $59,841 commencing September 1st, 2026.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Heritage Inn Hot Air Balloon Festival location. Heather. Yeah, you're getting up here too, Kinghorn.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The Heritage Inn International Hot Air Balloon Festival has operated its primary launch location on private property west of High River for several years. On July 22nd, 2026, the Mayor and administration were advised that permission to use the existing launch property would not be granted for the 2026 festival. The loss to the festival's traditional launch location required administration and the event organizers to identify a replacement location that meets operational requirements of the event as well as maintaining public safety. The new proposed location, west of Wallaceville, and the current balloon location site provides the most suitable location, and we reviewed several traffic management options, including temporarily closing Center Street during the launch periods and implementing a reduced speed limit. It was agreed that a temporary 30-kilometer-an-hour speed limit, together with designated pedestrian crossing staffed by 2 flaggers, provides an appropriate balance between pedestrian safety and maintaining traffic flow. The Friday evening balloon glow will continue to operate under existing traffic control and safety measures, where Center Street is closed from approximately 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. Full details are in the report, but the revised launch location is expected to result in approximately $800 in direct event support costs, excluding operational staff labor from the installation and removal of the temporary traffic signage. Should the location change be approved for 2026, the municipality will absorb these additional costs. For future years, discussions with the event organizers will be required to determine the appropriate allocation of the ongoing operational expenses. Administration is recommending that we move forward with the new launch location west of Wallaceville, the current site of the balloon glow on Friday night, as the 2026 launch site, with a reduced speed of 30 kilometers an hour on Center Street during the duration of the festival from September 23rd to September 27th, 2026. Do you have any questions?
Thanks, Heather. Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Where to start? Unfortunate that we have to move from the location we're at. I understand we don't have a lot of choices to make this happen elsewhere. This makes sense in terms of this is where we've had the balloon go. We all know how popular that is. We all know what this event brings to the community. My biggest concern is that major artery for that period of time and what that does from a vehicle perspective or a pedestrian perspective. So I guess I'll come across with my concerns. 30 kilometers is great. I'm still uneasy about that because people are going to drive through that area when balloons are there and they're going to do this. It's like a car wreck, right? Most people can't pass a car accident and not look at it, and that inevitably leads to another car accident because people rear-end each other. So that's a big concern. One that I think we could alleviate really quickly is pedestrian traffic, and I would like to see pedestrians stay on the east side of the road, not allowed to cross the street. That we barricade it and you watch the balloons take off from the Wallaceville side, and we eliminate that pedestrian traffic that could happen going back and forth. Some people will use a crosswalk. Some people won't. They'll just park their car and they'll cross the street where they want to cross the street. So if we were to cordon it off, I think that would create a much safer environment. For example, using the balloon port right now as an overflow to the proposed area for parking, I think those people would just cross the street and walk up on the west side of the road, which has concerns from a vehicle perspective. So the pedestrians is the big one for me. The cars reducing the speed is a definitive. I still think that there might be some cause for concern there, but slowing the traffic down definitely will help. So just a couple of points I had in seeing this. I'm not opposed to the location, but I just want us to be on top of making it appropriate for those people that are, going in and out of town during those times. Slowing down isn't that big of an inconvenience, but just to be mindful of that and then be really protective of the pedestrians, the people that will come to watch it, because there are lots of people that come to do it. So Anyway, thanks.
Absolutely. And so we had proposed where the current glow site is in the Wallaceville area as predominantly the main parking point. The hot air balloon port would be used as overflow parking. It would be, both parking locations would be staffed with volunteers to be able to help and assist with the parking side of it. And we're hoping that with having the volunteers there, they can guide them down happy trails to be able to use the actual crosswalk, and then having a second crosswalk set up with flaggers to be able to assist if pedestrians were to cross. However, we could look at a barricade option to not have them cross at all.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass, and I agree with Councillor Nychuk about it's sort of sad that unfortunately it has to change. I can see some validity to this area. I'm wondering about timing, because I'm going to call it rush hour. I don't know if we have rush hour necessarily in High River, but it is getting to work in the morning and leaving work or getting to kids' activities and stuff like that. Is those launch times, can I just ask the reason the launch times are what they are?
Do you want to go ahead and answer the launch times?
Sure. The times we're talking about are in the mornings between 7:30 and 8:30, just a 1 hour period. The guys should be there by 7:30 in the air. Generally, we'd be a little quicker, probably gone by 8, but we like to give ourselves about an hour to get in and out. In the evenings, it would be 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. The reason we use those times in the morning is we want to avoid thermal buildup. As the sun heats up the ground, it gets thermic, and you simply can't fly a balloon in thermal conditions. And in the evenings, we go later because, again, the sun's getting lower in the sky and the thermals are dying off.
So pretty much they're kind of like the best times to be doing this.
That's about the only times we can fly. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good to know.
In the summer, that's pretty much the only times we can fly. Winter obviously is different, but.
And the idea of eliminating people from one side of the road might be hard just because there is a crosswalk there coming from line of makers. I don't know if that's even feasible, especially if you're only using volunteers to sort of do that. There is definitely some issues with people crossing streets, especially in the middle, like if somebody just bolted across. That is really important. The other question I had was about the LED boards. You said you were putting one in the south end and the north end of Center Street. Can you tell me whereabouts, and like would you suggest to them possibly using another route?
Yeah, absolutely. So the LED signage that we set up is at High Country Drive and Center Street. So just before they have that opportunity to be able to turn an opposite direction, then to turn down Center to head south. So it'd be set up there kind of just after the Tim Hortons notifying everybody ahead of time that the road is going to be reduced. And then the second signage would be set up on the corner of McLeod and Center Street, where kind of Sobeys is there, to be able to notify drivers of the reduced speed limit.
So that's good, but if somebody wanted to use an alternate route, like wouldn't it sort of be like even before they come into town, maybe having something there so people could maybe go down 498 or not even have to come into town and try and flip around, because that could cause issues as well.
So we recently learned that you can notify Google of any road closures and deviations ahead of time for events. And so I actually tested it out with a couple events over the summertime, and it did provide an option. So what the algorithm, if somebody's using Google Maps to be able to come into town to see this, showing the concept was that we would put an actual road closure in as opposed to reduce signage into Google. From there, it would reroute people to be able to use alternative routes. So if they're trying to come into High River, if it's someone that's using Google Maps, the algorithm would then reroute them to avoid a road closure, or it would notify them there's a road closure on their route. The idea was not to deter people completely. It was more of a case of being able to say, hey, there's going to be slow down traffic here. It's going to be more congested. And as cell phones and the location services ping off of the cell phone towers and Google picks up that there's a reduced speed, that would be popped up as well if someone is using that. For locals in town, we understand that they're probably not using Google Maps to be able to get around because they just know where to go. And so in that case, having that LED signage and then having the additional traffic signage posted would assist with that.
Will you have the signage up quite a bit previous to the event, or only during the event?
With the LED signage, we're hoping to have it up at least a week in advance to notify everybody so that they can prepare for that.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Barton?
Thanks for the presentation, and yeah, it's too bad we can't have it where it was, but times change, I guess. The one comment that I was wondering, like I agree with what everybody has said up to this point, but what about reevaluating it after? Like seeing what's worked, what didn't work? Are we going to get a debrief on that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So after every event, we do a debrief. So with our signature events, we sit down with the event organizers, both protective services, bylaw, fire, anybody involved with the event. We'll do a major debrief of the whole thing and to see how things went. So we can get feedback from our CMP, we can get feedback from fire in case there's any concerns in that related. So things just outside the event as well as can they respond to calls? Can they, move forward in doing what they need to do as well? So there's always an event debrief afterwards to be able to do that.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Thank you.
So yeah, the Adams property is unavailable. That land is sold to a developer, so there'll be houses built in there now. So we were going to have to make this change at some point in time here. We weren't going to have access to that property forever. So I think this is the next best option that facilitates the ballooning needs as well as the public needs and the spectator piece. But the 30 kilometer an hour piece, like I'm not worried about the commute in High River for that length of space. Like if you're late because of a 20 kilometer swing, like you're probably late when you left the house. So as well, that 30 kilometer an hour is only going to be for the duration of the launches, right? And then it goes back to 50. It's not going to be, so it goes back and forth. Also, it's rare that we have a flight every morning and every afternoon during those days. Some days there aren't any. So it's only if there's flights and for a very small amount of time that there'll be any kind of commuter inconvenience. So, Jamie, question for you regarding going back to Councillor Nychuk's comments as to where the spectators should be. Would you even want them on the other side of Center Street when you guys are setting up your balloons and everything? Like, it's not like the glow night where you invite everybody in because the balloons are up and they're safe and everybody's standing there. But during when you guys are trying to launch balloons and you got volunteers around, I know from watching pretty much every one of them over at the Adams land that it's problematic if you get people in around those balloons.
Transport Canada gives us regulations, and one of them is that we have to keep the general public out of the direct launch area. What we'd looked at with this plan, and I appreciate Councillor Nychuk's comments, was that we would set the park up day one, similar to what we have with the Glow. We would run barricades across the, I guess it would be the west side, up and down, and to keep people out of the direct launch area. With respect to crossing Centre Street, that's why we're bringing in traffic, if you want to call it, traffic guards, people. It would be with little signs, stop, go, that kind of thing. We don't expect massive amounts of traffic in the morning, especially there. We might get 300 or 400 people, if that. Evenings can get a little busier, but again, it depends on weather. As you stated earlier, we could go the whole week with no flights, right? So we as an organization would prefer to set up on the west side, and that way we're not moving barricades, because obviously we have to do it again for the Glow on the Friday night too, and it's just wear and tear on our volunteers. Having 2 or 3 standing there along with some bylaw people, I think, will help the pedestrians get across the road. I understand your safety concerns, and we'll work hard at it. Looking down the road in the future, as Councillor Barton said, we're going to have to find someplace else in High River to do this. And that piece of property probably is the best one with respect to flight paths, what direction we go when we fly. Still giving our sponsors some bang for their buck because we're being seen over town, that sort of thing, and that's why we prefer this site. Going forward, if it doesn't work on this year, then we'll have to look for something else, but I'm optimistic that it'll be a very successful and safe event. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? I see none. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk. The council approve the existing balloon glow site located west of Center Street as the primary balloon launch site for the Heritage Inn International Hot Air Balloon Festival from September 23rd to 27th. And the council will approve Wallaceville located east of Center Street, south of First Avenue. I guess this is the old Willows area, right? As the primary spectator parking area for the Heritage Inn International Balloon Festival. And with the balloon port located north of Wallaceville available for any overflow parking if required. And the council approve a temporary 30-kilometer speed limit on Center Street during the scheduled morning and evening launch periods from September 23rd to 27th, 2026.
Happy to give you that motion, Mr. Mayor, as you read.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
I'll let her rip. Jamie, good luck. Patrick, it's all on your shoulders now. Asset retirement obligations and contaminated sites consulting. Budget amendment from Jordan, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Administration is requesting approval for a 2026 operating budget amendment to complete the town's work under two public sector accounting standards, PS 3280 asset retirement obligations and PS 3260 liability for contaminated sites. PS 3260 has applied to the town since 2025. It requires municipalities to assess contaminated sites and recognize liabilities when contamination exceeds an environmental standard. The municipal is responsible and future costs are expected and the amount can be estimated. And PS 3280 took effect for the town on January 1st, 2023. It requires municipalities to identify legal obligations associated with retiring tangible capital assets and recognize the related costs when the requirements of the standard are met. The town's financial statements have now carried the qualification related to this work for 3 reporting years. That's 2023, 24, and 25. In 2025, the auditor qualified its opinion because the town had not completed its assessment of potential asset retirement obligations or its assessment and supporting documentation for contaminated sites. Put simply, the qualification exists because town has not completed the work required to determine whether liabilities should be recorded and to provide the supporting evidence to the auditor. It does not mean that the auditor found broad errors in the town's financial records or that the town lacks financial capacity. The town's original approach was to use the asset management program as a starting point for this work, with physical testing of assets added where required, and a review of the assets, whether there is a legal obligation associated with the retirement of those assets. That approach would have addressed the requirements over a longer period as staff developed the asset records, supporting processes, and cost estimates. Following the continuation of the qualification, concerns raised by the public, council, and direction from council and senior leadership, financial services was directed to identify a way to complete the work for the 2026 financial statements. This request is the result of that direction. Administration is proposing 2 engagements with 360 engineering and environmental consulting. The first engagement addresses PS 3280, which is the asset retirement obligation qualification. It will identify the legal requirements that may create retirement obligations, reconcile those requirements to the town's assets, screen buildings for potential hazardous materials, apply the recognition requirements estimate the obligations that meet those requirements, and prepare the schedules, accounting entries, and audit support. This work has a fixed fee of $12,311. The second engagement addresses PS 3260. It will review 8 contaminated site records, determine whether the town is responsible, and whether each site meets the recognition requirements, and estimate a liability only where those requirements are met. The work will use existing environmental reports and records. It does not include new field testing or remediation. The budget allowance for this engagement work is $32,850. Administration has confidence in this particular approach because the process does not begin by assuming that every asset or site creates a liability. It begins by establishing a legal obligation for the town's responsibility, applies the requirements of the accounting standards, and then calculates the liability only when those requirements are met. The town's auditors, M&P, were provided with this proposed methodology for review and comment as part of the audit process. M&P did not select the consultant and cannot guarantee a 2026 audit opinion before reviewing the completed work. However, the audit partner has worked with 360 on another municipal engagement that received an unmodified audit opinion. The audit partner also received feedback from work completed for other municipalities and advised that, subject to the supporting evidence and methodology, this is a sound approach that should support the audit process. The combined estimated maximum cost is $45,101. Administration is requesting authority of up to $46,000 funded from the tax stabilization reserve. This will not affect the 2026 tax levy, and any unused amount will remain in reserves. The work will provide the assessments, estimates, accounting entries, disclosures, audit evidence, etc. needed to address the basis for the qualification. It will also establish schedules and a process for administration so they can update it each year. This amendment does not authorize any remediation work or require the town to pay the underlying liabilities in any way. Administration recommends that council approve the 2026 operating budget amendment of up to $46,000 so this work can be completed for the 2026 year-end audit. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Any questions from council? Councilor Nychuk?
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Thanks, Jordan. In terms of where we're funding this from, the tax stabilization reserve, I was somewhat under the impression maybe that we had liquidated that reserve when we were dealing with the pool, so I might be the only one sitting up here at this table that's confused. So if you can tell me that there's funds there and what that amount is, that helped me.
For sure. There's definitely funds there. We estimate amount of $100,000 available in tax stabilization right now. That's before 2025 surplus allocations. So once we bring surplus allocations we can refill reserves. So that's before that. And if you want more information on that part about how you said transferred reserves from tax stabilization into the aquatic center, we can speak to that as well if you'd like.
No, it's just where I thought we had spent all the egg.
Gotcha. Okay. Understood.
Councilor McGonigal?
Just a similar question. Approximately how much is left in this tax stabilization reserve after this? And I'm glad to see this coming forward because it gets us closer to being compliant. How much is left after we spend the 46 or set it aside?
Thank you for the question. So right now we estimate $100,000 minus this $46,000. Even though I'm an accountant, I'm not great with math inside my head, especially under pressure. But we could say it's about $50,000 remaining.
Yep.
But that's before the 2025 surplus from the 2025 year is actually allocated out. So that implies that there should be more available if council chooses to refill that reserve.
Can you give us an update on that in the next little, on that reserve fund, just in the next little while? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Cooey that council approve the 2026 operating budget amendment of up to $46,000 funded from the tax stabilization reserve to complete the town's PS 3280 asset retirement obligations and PS 3260 liability for contaminated sites assessments for the 2026 year-end audit.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Jordan. Variance application, 2nd Street Southeast, Michelle.
Why isn't it working? Oh, there we go.
Got you now.
Okay. Sorry. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Michelle Dolmayer, representing Planning and Development, speaking to item 6.4 on today's agenda. The subject site is located on the west side of 2nd Street Southeast, backing onto Birchwood Park, and is zoned Traditional Neighborhood District under the town's land use bylaw. The proposal is for a total of 2 units, including a detached dwelling and a detached garage suite, and includes variances to the principal building setback, accessory building setback, and frontage build-out. The application was brought to Committee of the Whole on June 22nd and also included a variance to the maximum blank wall length. At that time, Council had no concerns with the proposed setback or frontage build-out variances, but did advise that the application should meet the land use bylaw requirements for the blank wall length. The application has since been revised to satisfy the blank wall length requirements. Administration reviewed the application against the town plan and the land use bylaw. It was found that the application aligns with the overall policies of the goals of the town plan by providing an appropriate form of residential intensification within an established neighborhood while maintaining low density character of the surrounding area. Although there are 3 variances requested to accommodate the proposed site layout and building configuration, the development otherwise complies with the regulations of the Traditional Neighborhood District of the land use bylaw. The first variance is for the principal building front setback. The land use bylaw requires a setback between 2 and 6 meters, while the applicant is proposing approximately 30 meters. Administration has no concerns as the setback is consistent with the development pattern along this portion of the street. The second variance relates to the detached garage suite being located in front of the principal dwelling, where the land use bylaw requires accessory buildings to be located behind principal buildings. Administration reviewed the proposed location and does not have concerns as it maintains an appropriate relationship with the street and surrounding development. The final variance is for the frontage build-out. A minimum of 65% is required, while the proposal achieves approximately 46.7%. Administration considers this to be a result of the large lot width and does not believe that it will negatively impact the character of the streetscape. The original application, sorry, can you just scroll down a few slides? Keep going. Perfect, that one. So the original application included a variance to the maximum blank wall length on the street-facing elevation of the garage suite. The land use bylaw permits a maximum blank wall length of 2 meters, while the proposal originally included 4.8 meters. At the June 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting, Council advised that the applicant should revise the application to include additional design features to meet the land use bylaw and align with other garage suite designs along the street. The applicant has since revised the street-facing elevation to include additional trim and windows, enhancing the elevation and bringing the proposal into compliance with the land use bylaw. So administration has no concerns with the proposed variances to land use bylaw and requests that council approve development permit 1037.26, subject to the subject conditions in the notice of decision.
Thanks, Michelle. Any questions from council? Been through this one, just coming back, so I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Barton. The council approve DP 1037.26, a minor development permit application for the development of both a new single detached dwelling and detached garage suite with the following parameters. I'm not going to read them, they're listed in the agenda items. And subject to the conditions noted in Schedule A, notice of decision dated August 10th, 2026.
You have my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks, Court. Aquatics expansion construction update. Kaylee?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am here today to provide an update on our aquatics expansion project. Currently, where are we at? With phase 1, we are working through ongoing rectification of our tile deficiencies and wrapping up the washmat accessory installations. Other than that, we have begun cleaning phase 1 in order to get ready for a final walkthrough and scheduling of pool filling. Phase 2. We are, you'll notice if you walk into the facility, go through a large arena and go up to the concession, you'll notice we have the concession space fully open to us now. So you can almost walk up to the viewing wall. We've got our new washrooms that are there. So we're starting to get a little bit more space. So that'll give you a really good idea as to what it's going to look like in that lobby space with the polished floors, white walls, new ceiling, new lights. It's quite nice, so go take a look at that. We continue to work on further work in the lower lobby space that will have that similar look as we tie the renovation of the lobby to the field house. So that's what we got going on in there. So we got that open just in time for our hockey camps to start this week. So in phase 2, we have finished the sandblasting. We have begun priming the ceiling, and we will be looking to get that ceiling painted. Once that is done, we can finish that work up in that ceiling space, get all the scaffold out here in the next few weeks, and we can start finishing up the tiling that needs to take place within phase 2. A lot of that work within the basin got completed up to the point where we need the scaffold out of the pool in order for us to finish tying in the remainder of the tiling work. With our change orders, we are up to 3.3 million in change for change orders. We are still projecting for a October substantial completion. However, keep in mind that that means we get staffing in place and we get open to the public sometime in November. And that concludes, that does not conclude my update. We have also recently been delivered 2 delay claims by Chandos. We have had an initial meeting, we've provided our initial comments, and we have just recently received Chandos' response to this. We will be evaluating these responses with our legal team in order to set up a second meeting to complete negotiations on that delay claim. That delay claim is related to change directive 3, the pool tank repairs that we had to get completed. So there was a delay associated to that before we could get into the actual tiling and finishing of the work in that phase 2 pool. And we do also expect and have been given heads up, we will see another delay claim coming at a later date for CDO4, which would be the delay that we received on the project as a result of the ceiling paint remediation that took place. I will be following up with a further update as I get more information on these delay claims. That concludes my update. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Kaylee. Questions from council? Great to hear that, San. When did you say the painting was starting, or has it started?
It either has just started or it will be starting here in the next day or so.
Okay, thank you. No questions from council. Thanks very much. High Country Corridor Study, the final report. Kaylee.
Kind of figured that was me next. So as you are aware, we had engaged ISL to complete a corridor study back in March of 2024, which included High Country Drive from Center Street, also known as Highway 2, all the way to Longview Trail. And that included all the access points and intersections along the way, and there are about 16 intersections. The key objective was to engage our public consultation process, review safety for all modes of transportation along the corridor, and how to maintain any amenities along the corridor. And there was also an additional review as well on the corridor speed and consistency and compliance. So phase 1 engagement began in fall of 2024, to which we collected feedback from the community as to what they felt the issues were along the High Country Corridor. In phase 2, we presented ideas to the community for feedback in the summer of 2025. 3 concept options were developed, with each expanding upon the other in both scale and capital intensity. The preferred option, being option 1, balances safety improvements with cost-effective and feasible implementations and time-sensitive implementations. The key elements include targeted traffic calming curb placement to improve crossing visibility and manage the speeds, strategic parking prohibitions to address sightlines and maintain on-street access. So you'll remember there are quite a few curves along there, and as the intersections come up to those curved areas, reducing the parking up to the intersection provides a better sightline. The proposed speed reduction posted from 50 down to 40, which is also supported through the town plan. And the intersection improvement at Highview Gate, which is already a 2026 capital approved project. So next steps, the report is now available for council's consideration for future capital budget and priority planning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Thanks, Kaylee. Councilor McGonigal.
I'm just going to say, I'm glad you received this. It's a huge report. Received it on Friday, so I'm going to need a lot more time to go through it and to understand it and appreciate the contents. But thank you for presenting it.
It is massive, and there's massive budget implications to anything we do, so we'll all have to come back. So, thanks, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Grain elevator status, the apartment building in the north there. Shalane?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple introductions first. My name is Shalane Broomfield with the Planning and Development Division. On my left-hand side here, I have Lane Martin, who is acting on behalf of Alan Matthews, and he's available for questions once I provide a quick update. And I also have Harold Wick with the Safety Codes Division, provided there's questions after my update as well. Providing a little bit of background, first, in May 2026, the town approved a 1-year extension for the grain elevator project to complete the multi-unit residential building, as the applicant could not complete the project within the 24-month deadline. As there were major concerns related to the unfinished appearance of the building at the north gateway of town, 2 conditions were agreed upon between the town and the developer as part of the last extension. The 2 conditions were that the exterior cladding and the on-site landscaping be completed by August 8th, 2026. So it was a 3-month extension for those 2 items. It's important to note that the town had limited ability to enforce the compliance of these 2 conditions at that time, but worked with the developer on a reasonable timeline and was relying heavily on the developer's goodwill to complete both items. On July 29th, 2026, Alan Matthews submitted a formal rationale and extension letter regarding a time extension for the 2 items, highlighting that the applicant is in the process of securing financing and requests that the exterior and the landscaping items deadline align with the overall development permit extension deadline being May 8th, 2027. Administration consulted with legal counsel and confirmed that there is limited enforcement options available to the town with respect to the siding and landscaping at this time. The town's legal counsel recommends that the town work with the developer to determine an extension for these 2 items and clearly state that this is the final extension allotted for the project. At this point, it is in the town's best interest to rely on the final May 8th, 2027 deadline regarding the landscaping and exterior finishing of the building, which is part of the overall extension for the rest of the development permit. The town very recently received a notice of, a redemption order with respect to this property. This information is not in the council report, as it was received too recently to incorporate it into the report. The redemption order is between ATB Financial as the plaintiff and the defendants are the Grain Elevator Residences, Westlock Development Corporation, Site Finders Real Estate Services Inc., and Alan Matthews. In summary, the loan for the project is in default, and this matter will appear before the Court of King's Bench on August 20th, 2026, and this is public information. As far as next steps, the new information related to the redemption order does not change the direction regarding the recommended next steps from administration, being that the deadline for the entire project, including the exterior and landscaping, be May 8th, 2027. It is preferred that the development is complete by the May 8th, 2027 deadline. However, if it is incomplete, the town has the option to extend the deadline permit or have the applicant reapply at that time, or can explore options for default. Planning is happy to answer any questions, and as I mentioned before, we have Lane here for any questions as well, and also safety codes to provide any background on the safety code end.
Okay, so Cole's notes from the last time that you were here, Lane, nothing has really changed, right?
I believe there has been some updates on the building, if Lane wants to provide. I know that Tyvek was a big issue last time we met.
Yeah, still not done. So
correct.
Some Tyvek was stapled back on, a little bit was, but it's still incomplete. So now where it's at is, help me get the wording right, ATB is foreclosing on the project, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's going before the courts. So. Curious, Lane, because you had the for lease sign up there, did anybody put money forward to that thing? Like, how does that work when it's being foreclosed on now?
Well, it should be done. It needs to be taken down.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if other councillors got questions. There's not a lot that we can do simply because the banks and the courts are involved in this thing now. They're still, regardless of who ends up taking care over this project or how that all works, there's a boatload of work that still needs to be done on it, correct, Harold? Can you speak to that a little bit about what's still outstanding on the safety codes end of things?
Yes, besides the exterior work, all the...
Shalane, or Harold, can you just bring that mic as close to you as you can? This system is not good.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, besides the exterior work, what has to be done, all the utilities, HVAC, plumbing, electric, all that roughing is going to be done. Then the drywall, the insulating, drywall, and all the finishing. So that's all, it's a number of different contractors, and that's going to take some significant time. If it's organized properly, if they are working like starting today, they should be able to achieve the 2027 deadline.
Okay, the foundation issue on the south side, if I remember right, has that been rectified?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, so
We've done the drawings and have a set of drawings that we've been working with and showing what our ideas are to repair that as soon as possible.
Apply what the plan is. Okay.
Yeah. I also tried to do a set of smaller plans to try to do a little bit of the landscaping that wasn't in there's a triangular part and those types of things. So.
Okay. I'll be honest, I wish Alan was sitting here instead of you. It's unfair that you're here. If you can relay that to Alan. I know it would be preferred that he would come in front of council himself with a failed project like he's got out there right now. It's an eyesore and it's a failure, and none of us are, I don't think anybody in High River's happy about it as to what's going on out there. So if you can take that back with you, please, Lane. And if somehow Mr. Matthews is still involved in this project, I'd like to see him in that seat instead of you. You can be with him, but I'd like to see him come and address us as to how he's going to fix this mess, because it's embarrassing. So, any other comments from council? We're good. Thanks, Lane. Thanks, Earl. Thanks, Lane. Appreciate you coming. No. Alberta Municipalities Board of Directors nominations. You want to speak to this, Jenny?
Yes, thank you. So I've had the privilege over the past 10 months to be a director on the Alberta Municipalities Board. I did, after the election at their convention, I ran for the position. It was a replacement position for somebody who didn't become reelected. So it was sort of short term, but over those 10 months, I have learned an incredible amount on municipalities, the Alberta government and federal government and how they work. And I'd like to continue being on that board. I do have to run again in this coming September in the convention, at the convention. The position also for vice presidents of town is eligible, and I'd like to also put my name forward for that position. However, that position does need support from council to do so. And so that's what I'm coming forward today, asking for your guys' support. I don't assume that this will take away from any of my responsibilities being a councillor for the town of High River. I actually feel that it will help support my interest in municipal governance and also the advocacy to the Alberta government in and of itself. So I respectfully ask for your support and allow me to put my name forward for this position.
Fantastic. Any questions from council? Councillor Nychuk.
Just want to know, Mayor Snodgrass, you'll be attending the convention then this fall to support Councillor Jones, I assume, right?
That has absolutely nothing to do with this request.
Your vote would be appreciated.
Yeah. I'm not a convention guy, so I am more than happy that Councillor Jones wants to do this on behalf of, and I honestly, I do think it's a massive benefit to our council to have Jenny that's involved with Alberta municipalities. So on that note, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council support and approve the nomination of Councillor Jones to the Alberta Municipalities Board of Directors as Director of Town South for a 2-year term and Vice President of Towns for a 1-year term.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Good luck, Jenny.
Thank you very much.
Just do your tour with your boxes of donuts and get them votes. Okay, Councillor Board and Committee reports. That's not bribery, by the way. Councillor Cooey.
Thanks so much. Just a quick report. Shepherd Family Park is my one committee that's still going throughout the summer. Looking for some volunteers as always. Anybody that's a gardener and doesn't mind being poked by some raspberry bushes, they could use 1 or 2 volunteers to help with their raspberry bush coming up in the school year. Looking for some volunteers to help with the school tours where they bring in the schools. They teach them, have a little class right in the Little Bow School, and of course learn all about the rest of the things around the park. A huge shout out to the volunteers around there, including our own Garth, but all of them, the work that they put in and the hours they are putting in that park, and it looks amazing, is astronomical. It's amazing and a lot of work. So again, looking for some people to get involved there as well. We got some chickens producing 3 eggs a day, so you can go and visit the chicken coop, along with a new initiative selling coal. So if you know any farriers or any need for coal, we are selling coal for $85 a bag. Is that correct? Okay, we're still working on that, but if you're looking for coal, Shepherd Family Park's the place to go. So again, lots going on, a great summer, and getting it ready now for thrashing days. So thank you.
Okay, couple of pieces for me to share. Back on July 27th, some members of council had the opportunity to meet with our municipal affairs minister, Dan Williams, who was doing a bit of a road show going around. Meetings were held here in each municipality. There's Foothills County, Okotoks, Longview, Diamond Valley, and High River. We all had a 15-minute window to have a meeting with Minister Williams. And what we requested, that we've started, is that the province start collecting their own education tax requisitions. This is something that's put on the shoulders of municipalities, and I don't know of a single municipality that's happy about it, especially with the massive increases in property tax that this education tax has been put on to us by the provincial government. Our biggest thing is it takes a lot of time from our staff to deal with this, as well as not everybody in High River completely understands, or any municipality understands, what this education tax is, and it's not a High River tax, it is a provincial government tax. And we just believe that the provincial government, if they have this tax, they should also collect this tax on their own. We did have in my mind, it was a fun back and forth on it. The minister had different views on what that conversation was like, but in that, whether this is political in nature, and it's absolutely 100% political in nature, because yes, we take it in the teeth from our residents on this, a 19% on their end? 19% increase on the province's end, and had a lot of people coming at us thinking that this was our tax. So yes, it's political on our end. I also put it back to him that it's 100% political on their end, that they want us to do this because they can hide from it. They don't have, if the UCP government went out and told everybody in every municipality that here's your 19% property tax increase, you tell me what that would do to their election chances the next time. It is 100% political. Regardless, that is still our request, is that they take on their own tax collection. Later on in that afternoon, I had a scheduled meeting with Premier Smith. Interesting, she knew all about the meeting before she walked in the door. Guess she got that phone call fairly quick, but I reiterated the exact same thing to the Premier, that it's time for them to collect their own taxes that they put out there. Beyond that, one piece that's kind of come up over the last week or so is in regards to the upcoming referendum in October, and how the signage is being handled and can be handled by municipalities. And Chris, I might get you to come up here and speak to this a little bit, but what's happened with the town previously had election signage bylaw, and there was only certain areas of town outside of your own public property. You can do whatever you want there, but outside of that, there's certain, what we call them, election signs corrals. We had half a dozen around town where everybody could put their signs. And that was for municipal, provincial, and federal, that you could do that. Last year, the provincial government took that ability away from us. Which made our bylaw useless, which means that the referendum signage, which does coincide with election signage, is a bit of a free-for-all on public property. So I've been getting the odd email on certain signs that are on public boulevards and stuff. I thought we could deal with it on both sides. This isn't on one side or the other. But we can't. So Chris, can you kind of speak to what we can and can't control on these signs? Because the problem is, the reason why we ended up with our election signage bylaw, which we referred to as the Brankovich bylaw, because former councillor Dragan Brankovich, I don't know how many signs he bought, but those of us that remember 2013, there's like 7,908 just on 12th Avenue. So we called it the Brankovich bylaw. It was pretty funny. So that one's being out. And the reason why we did it is because it does, during these elections, it does just trash up your town, and it does not look good at all. So Chris, can you kind of explain what we can and can't do anymore?
Thank you, Your Worship. Absolutely. So Bill 54 was introduced as an Election Statutes Amendment Act in 2025. It stripped Alberta municipalities of their power to create or enforce independent bylaws regarding election and referendum signage. So prior to this, we were permitted to have designated zones, as was seen in our bylaws. Now the minister holds all exclusive authority to establish standard provincial rules for election advertisements across all public spaces. They do provide high-level location guidelines on the alberta.ca page. It is a lot more broad. It really does restrict what we can enforce on location of signage. We do have some stipulations that we can look to, that is total size of the signage. We still have the rights to enforce for safety infractions on sightline triangles at intersections. And there is requirements of who is funding the signage and contact information on the signage. So there's some general strokes we can enforce, but all of our, I'd say, more concise constraints that were put on by that bylaw were upended by the statutes amendment. So we are at the mercy of the high-level regulation that is basically signage sizing and sightline inference for our traffic system.
Okay, perfect. So at the end of the day, I think the request is out there to both sides, whether it's the Forever Canada side or the separatism side, or any other part of this referendum that's coming up. Is that everybody just respects the town that you live in, and that not everybody's going to put a sign out not all of us want to see these signs. Private property, of course, is a free-for-all. You're seeing some of these streets in High River. Everybody's showing their colors, right? It's pretty entertaining in my mind, but let's just, on public property, let's just not trash up our town too much with these signs for too long. So I just wanted to bring that forward because I know there are a lot of people that I've got a few emails regarding it. So, and just so that council knows how they can respond to the public with this. So, okay. Thanks very much for figuring this out over the weekend for me, Chris. Board and committee minutes, Museum of the Highwood meeting minutes, the Shepherd Family Park Society Board, and the High River Library boarding meeting minutes are included. Municipal Days of Respect and Support. There's a couple of them here. One is and I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Cooey that Council proclaim October 8th, 2026 as National Depression Screening Day in High River, and that Council authorize the Mayor to sign the National Depression Screening Day proclamation.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
All in favor? Carried. High River Tennis Club 120th anniversary celebration. 120 years? Wow. I will ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that Mayor and Council will notify administration by August 14th, 2026 of availability to attend and speak at the High River Tennis Club's 120th anniversary celebration, August 22nd, 2026.
I'll give you that motion, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried. Chris, you not got that memo yet? All right. I'll send it to you. Okay, lots of council correspondence for information regarding the e-scooters and e-bikes. That's on council's radar. Hannah Gwilt, reducing the speed limit on Highway 2A. Highway 2A is not of course, in High River's jurisdiction, but council can absolutely consider that request at a later date. Correspondence regarding High Country Drive that Donna brought us to before, 605 McLeod Trail. That's there, and we had that presentation. If you didn't see the information on 605 McLeod Trail, if you watched the committee of the whole meeting that happened at 1 o'clock today, part of that meeting was dealing with this development permit application. Correspondence regarding a data center is in there, and then correspondence regarding questions and public comments that Bonnie Murray has presented are in there and have been answered to by administration. And just so that people know, on this data center, there won't be any data centers within town of High River boundaries. I had that request and as to whether that was happening, and no, it's not. They're all poking around in rural areas, and yes, there's the one across the highway in behind John Deere and stuff that they're poking around on, but talking with Foothills County, that one is stalled out, and they haven't received any further information from that developer on that one in quite some time. There is another one that's being poked around somewhere in Foothills County, but every single rural municipality is dealing with these things on a massive scale right now. And of course, Rocky View put a moratorium and shut their applications down until they kind of get it figured out. They got so many going on out there, and there's a big war going on out in Vulcan County for one that they're looking at trying to put beside the massive solar farm, Travers Dam. So there's a lot going on with data centers, but there won't be a data center in High River. We don't have any room for it, or industrial zoning or anything for something of that size scope. So, on that note, I will ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that council recess the regular council meeting August 10th at 4:59 p.m. and move into a closed meeting.
You have that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried.
Michael's got a question.
Michael's good.
I had my hand up late, so I was just holding it up.
Okay.
So he can read it.
We're live? Okay, two motions coming out of the in-camera session, one starting with the High River Library Board appointments. And I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Barton that Council appoint John Bateman and Melissa Miller to the High River Library Board with term start dates of August 11th, 2026 and term expiry dates of October 31st, 2028. And that Council direct administration to advertise openings for the remaining vacancies on the Town of High River Boards and Committees and return to Council a future date with recommendations.
You have a motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Next one is Assessment Review Board appointment. And I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council appoint Sean McGlynn to the Assessment Review Board with a term start date of August 11, 2026 and a term expiry date of October 31st, and that Town Administration post remaining vacancies to the boards and committees and return to Council at a future date with recommendations.
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Meeting adjourned.